Once again, I'm meteorologist Bill Steffen, looking back at the big tornado outbreak that we had on Palm Sunday in 1965. I was 13 years old at the time and living in the town of Wilmette, Illinois. Something very interesting here. 1965 had been a very cold and snowy March in Grand Rapids. In 1965, in fact, if you take a look at when we've had really bad tornadoes in the month of April, including the Standale tornado in '56, we had snowy and cold Marches. So that's kind of a clue. And what's really interesting is the people weren't really prepared for a tornado. I mean, they had, they've been used to shoveling snow. And all of a sudden we had this warm up, and that's when we had the bad tornadoes here. Lyndon Baines Johnson was president at the time. A gallon of gas was 31 cents. I remember buying gas for 29 cents a gallon way back when. Some of the shows on TV: Bonanza, Bewitched, Gomer Pyle, USMC, which kind of went along with the Gomer Pyle show, and the Andy Griffith Show were popular on TV. There's a song called Woolly Bully by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, and that was one of the top hits that we had in 1965. Remember the Beatles and the Beach Boys were going strong that time and everything. So that sets the stage for what we're looking at here. The tornadoes themselves occurred 60 years ago, and Palm Sunday is an interesting day. It's a day when a lot of people go to church in the evening. People have a lot of family gatherings, and so they're not really looking out the window here. But 47 tornadoes occurred that day, and look at the fatality count. 271 fatalities occurred that day. 1,500 were injured. Hospitals, of course, were overwhelmed. Some of the other towns that were hit: Elkhart, Indiana, and Crystal Lake, Illinois, Tipton, Iowa, some of the places that got hit. There were a handful of states that were responsible for that. And we're going to take a look in detail at some of the weather conditions that led up to that and how that changed. A look at how we do weather watches in the area. So we'll take a minute to thank our sponsors and be right back.
Need a fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service? Complete Care Concierge has you covered. Serving all of West Michigan, we offer one-time, daily, weekly, and bi-weekly cleans, plus move in, move out. We also service apartment hallways and laundry rooms. Our work is guaranteed, gift cards are available, and we even clean on weekends. There's no better way to say I love you than giving a tired mom a break from dishes and laundry. Are you a busy professional? Pamper yourself by taking vacuuming and dusting off your plate. Office manager? Keep your business looking and feeling its very best. Call 616-264-1397 today for a spotless space and total peace of mind.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Well, here's a look at the states that had tornadoes on Palm Sunday in 1965. Tornado outbreak started in Iowa, moved east into Illinois and southern Wisconsin, and then into Michigan, Indiana, and finally into Ohio during the evening. It's an interesting day weather-wise. The temperature in Grand Rapids climbed to 72 degrees that day, and the thunderstorms, as they approached, were moving in at about 50 to 60 miles an hour. So it went pretty quickly from being a nice, partly cloudy day to having dangerous weather arrive here. The storms traveling east across the area. We had 4 F4 tornadoes. This is before we had the enhanced Fujita scale, so we have the EF scale today. And it's the F scale back then, but we had 4 F4 tornadoes in Michigan alone. The one from Ottawa County into Kent County and Montcalm County. I think that tornado had a path of around 50 miles. So it was on the ground for a long time. And there were 2 separate tornadoes down across the southern tier counties that were just amazing. One of them from Elkhart, Indiana, you could track all the way near Ann Arbor and stayed at F2 to F4 intensity, much of that. In fact, I think they had, in Tecumseh, I think they had a measured wind gust to 151 miles an hour. Normally, you wouldn't measure that because there'd be debris hitting the anemometer that would knock it out of commission. But that was interesting. And of course, there were tornadoes up toward Alma, over toward Hastings too. All right, next picture is a double tornado, not one, but two of them together. One is kind of slowly fading as the other one takes over. But there were two separate tornadoes. This picture was taken by Paul Huffman, and he's released it into the public domain so that all of us can use that now. You can see a little bit of debris over the road, and off to the left of the left tornado, you can see a little bit of debris in the air too. This thing hit a mobile home park, and I believe this particular tornado, there were over 30 fatalities with it. So it really caused a lot of damage. This is some of the damage from an F4 tornado that occurred in northern Ohio near Toledo. And it's interesting, if you look at that picture, those houses were just leveled down to the last brick. I mean, the debris is still there, and you can see the path. Just looking at this picture, you can tell which way north is and which way south and east are, with the tornadoes moving pretty much southwest to northeast across the area. But a tremendous amount of damage. As I mentioned, it had been a cold and snowy March in West Michigan. We had 3 feet of snow in March of '65, and that still stands as the record snowfall for March. Temperatures, get this, on March 21, Grand Rapids was 9 above zero. On the 27th, we were 0, if you can believe that. And then into the first week of April, on the 2nd, we had a low temperature of 11, and on the 3rd, a low temperature of 10. So unusually low temperatures here. March 24th, not a record, but it was 2 below, and March 23rd, it was 8 above. Now, this is an interesting weather map from that day. We had low pressure in Wisconsin. Each station plot, the temperature is in the upper left, the dew point is in the lower left, barometric pressure is in the upper right, and it's really interesting. The stars that you see there, Grand Rapids on down into Indiana, that's where that's where tornadoes were occurring right about the time this map occurred. Fort Wayne had a temperature of 73 with a dew point of 64, but you can see the dew point has dropped to 35 in Chicago as some very strong west winds. Look at the convergence of air. Look at Grand Rapids with a 20-knot south-southeast wind, Muskegon with a 15-knot west-southwest wind, and all that air is piling together and then building the clouds up higher and higher. The blue line with the triangles on it is a cold front. The red line with the half semicircles in red on it, that is a warm front. The warm front got north, and the tornadoes this time were generally in the warm air, the warm sector. Sometimes we get tornadoes that occur right at the warm front, but this time they occurred to the south of the front, and it was really, like I said, an amazing day. Tremendous dew point difference. Dew point, you can see was that 58? It's hard for me to read in Grand Rapids, but only 35 in Chicago. All right, this is a statement from what was the Weather Bureau. It wasn't the National Weather Service at the time, but the Weather Bureau. And here's what they said at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, this is before the tornado hit in Michigan here. Now, keep in mind that the meteorologist who's making out the forecast here does not have any satellite pictures. He's probably looking at an old RCA AVQ-10 radar that was hauled out of an aircraft in World War II. I mean, it was designed to see airplanes, big airplanes, not little tiny snowflakes and whatnot. But at 5 p.m., they noted a squall line. It's a line of thunderstorms with several severe thunderstorms. Was near Milwaukee and Chicago, moving eastward at about 50 miles an hour. The squall line will reach the eastern shore of Lake Michigan at New Buffalo around 6, and Muskegon, Benton Harbor by 6:30, and the Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo area by around 7, which was a pretty good forecast. There will likely be some severe thunderstorms with large hail and damaging winds over west central and southwest lower Michigan as the squall line passes. Now note, it's an interesting, down on the bottom in the black writing down there, the statement from the National Weather Service as the situation unfolded. They did not use the word tornado because they didn't want to panic everybody. Well, with 271 fatalities, it was about time to panic. This was the time to get people heading down to the basements and away from windows. Next statement issued at 6:15. Squall line was near Manitowoc, Wisconsin, across Lake Michigan to 20 miles east of Chicago, continues to move eastward at 55 miles an hour now, with several strong radar echoes. It has 2 of the strongest echoes, one near Michigan City, Indiana. That was the storm that produced the tornado from Elkhart to Ann Arbor, and the other about 20 miles farther south. And the The squall line will reach Benton Harbor and Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo around 7 o'clock. Squall line will have several severe thunderstorms in Berrien, Van Buren, Cass counties, where there could be a tornado or two in the next 45 minutes. So that was good, but they didn't mention that there could have been tornadoes up toward the Grand Rapids area here as well. So let's go on here. This is the Swan Inn. This picture, I believe, was taken by Walter Nelson, if I'm not mistaken, and he's released this so that everybody can look at it. The Swan Inn is still there, by the way. I believe it was just sold, but a motel at 6 Mile and Alpine Avenue on the southeast corner. The second, in fact, I think there was one fatality here and there might have been one across the street too. The entire second floor is pretty much gone. What can you do to be safe? Get down to the lowest floor. Don't stay on the second floor if you got a first floor to run to. And if you can get a basement, that would be even better. 33 of 37 tornadoes occurred within forecasted areas. They had boxes out, and they did a good, considering what they had to work with, they did a very good job of warning people. But there were still 271 fatalities. There were a number of reports on this. The governor came to tour the tornado damage here and everything. And boy, if I'm not mistaken, I believe even the president may have come here to do that. That would have been Lyndon Johnson in 1965. All right, let's go on here. An investigation following the tornadoes questioned why there were so many deaths despite good forecasting and warnings. Well, people have to be educated as to what to do, and one of the things that we do now is we educate storm spotters, and storm spotters go out. In fact, now I kid sometimes that there's 10 cars following every dark cloud. With the communications that we have available to us now, we can see these tornadoes sometimes as they develop and get warnings out. Plus, we've gotten severe weather education out to the general public in our schools right now. I've given, in the course of my career, I bet I've given 1,000 speeches at schools, churches, Rotary clubs, whatever. And we've been able to tell people what's the two things that you want to think about in a tornado. And number one is getting to the lowest floor of a building that you can get to, okay? Lowest floor. And second is to stay away from windows, especially windows on the south and west sides of the building that you're in. If you remember those two things, and we've also got, little things like building codes. I talked to a professor who was an expert on taking a look at buildings, especially schools, to find out where the safest place would be for kids to go. If you look at the list over there on the right side, there are still a couple of these spotters meetings that you can go to. As I type this, you may be looking at this after the date, but April 27th, Saturday, there are training sessions scheduled for Muskegon and in Ludington. And we have those every year from February into April. And I believe the one in Kent County here that we had at First Church on 44th Street had, Kelly, I believe we had over 200 people attend that. And these are people who get trained, and then we'll go out sometimes and be in safe places where they can look out and tell us what's happening. So that's one of the things that you will note, that there is a far less loss of life in general from tornadoes now than there was back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And we've had fewer really bad tornadoes. We get a lot of these EF0, EF1 tornadoes here. We're up to now, and I haven't gotten this on the blog yet, but we have, I believe, we're up to 12 or 13 now that occurred on the was it the 26th? So we're getting the small ones, but not many of the big ones. We had in the state of Michigan, we've had, I believe we had a dozen EF4 and EF5 tornadoes from 1953 to 1977. The last one in 77 was in Weberville over toward Lansing. But we have not had an EF4 or an EF5 tornado since 1977. We had one in Dexter that was an EF3, and that tornado destroyed some homes over there. But there were no serious injuries because everybody there knew enough to get down to the basement and be safe in the tornado there. So that was really good. We're educating the public, improved radar technology. Boy, like I said, the radars used to be aircraft radars, and now we have the WSR 88Ds, the new software on them. We can see debris balls sometimes up into the air when tornadoes occur. There's complete radar coverage for all areas east of the Rockies, and we have the Rockies are kind of difficult, but of course you don't get many tornadoes out there, and you certainly don't get many really strong ones. I mean, the areas you want covered are the areas that get lots of tornadoes. The stretch that they call Tornado Alley, especially from North Texas up through Oklahoma, Kansas, eastern Nebraska, and into western Iowa, commonly referred to as Tornado Alley. Provide emergency backup systems and power systems. We have the sirens. We test the sirens. The sirens are mainly just for people that are outside. If you're sitting in your man cave like I am here, I didn't hear the siren the other day when I was downstairs. But if you're downstairs, you're already safe. We continue to provide emergency backup. Continue to evaluate how forecasting and warning systems impact public behavior. And that's a big thing. When you get a tornado warning, a lot of times, especially macho men, want to go outside and see what's going on. Well, let's see, buildings are going to get wrecked. I want to watch this, that kind of thing. And got to make sure that you head downstairs and get out of trouble. After the Palm Sunday tornado event, we stopped calling them tornado forecasts, and started using the term watch and warning. A watch means the conditions are ideal for a tornado to develop. Doesn't mean we have one now. We're giving you usually, hopefully, a few hours warning to make a plan. And if you're in an unsafe place, let's say you're in a rickety mobile home that's set up on concrete blocks where the wind can get underneath it. You're not supposed to do that anyway, but you can plan a time to move to a place that might be more safe. Maybe somebody that has a more suitable location where you can hide out for a little bit. And I had somebody call me once that they were really terrified of tornadoes. And I said, well, if you really want to be safe, go to the underground parking garage in Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo. We have underground parking areas there where there's a corner you can hide in the parking garage in Grand Rapids where I bet an EF6 couldn't get at you down there. Okay, one more note to pass along. There were 2 Palm Sunday tornado outbreaks, and one of them occurred in my hometown of Wilmette, Illinois. That's where I grew up. This was also a Palm Sunday tornado in 1920, and that's some of the damage that you see right there. That's on the east side of town, and I recognize some of these buildings here. Let's go on to the next one here, and I'll show you some of the damage that's there. I don't know exactly what road that is, but it's a build-up area. It could conceivably be Green Bay Road, which runs parallel to Lake Michigan up along the coastline right there from Evanston on up toward Wisconsin. There were 37 tornadoes in that outbreak, 153 fatalities. The F4 tornado traveled through Cook County, reaching Wilmette. So they had some time, and really amazing. Let's go to the next one right here, and I want to show you this one. This one's kind of interesting because that's the train station. The Chicago and Northwestern trains ran, and I believe still do, from Chicago up toward Milwaukee. The building just to the right and in the distance there, if you look at the train station, just to the right, there's a white building there. That's the bank building, which I believe is still the bank building. It may have been torn down and rebuilt, but you can see some of the debris there after the tornado that occurred. And Wilmette, the population has been around 30,000 for a long time. My father worked for Bell and Howell for about 34 years. He was a liaison engineer there. But you can see here this tornado destroyed 413 buildings. Now, they try and salvage buildings if they possibly can. 413 that were destroyed, 300 injuries, and of course, a tornado like that would really overwhelm a hospital. It's pretty much they issue an all-hands-on-deck thing to try and deal with people. So that's a little bit about Palm Sunday in 1965, 60th anniversary of that, and the Palm Sunday outbreak of 1920 that occurred in my hometown of Wilmette, Illinois. That was 105 years ago on Palm Sunday. So once again, thanks so much for hanging with us here till the end. Have yourself a safe day, and thanks for coming here for your dose of weather.